I want to bring up a discussion point that comes up a lot on social media and in YouTube comments and videos I make and others, and it's this statement that is basically: are people actually reading the comics? Are they reading the comics that they're commenting on? And this belief that a lot of people aren't, that they're commenting on it and they're not reading the comics. And what does that all mean? It kind of goes to that was part of the kind of Gamergate in a sense of the fake geek girl or fake geek boy or whatever it happens to, fake geek, the people who are doing it for cred. Which as somebody who, back in the 80s, reading comics, playing Dungeons and Dragons, video games, all that stuff, it was not mainstream. So the idea that people are now, pretending to do those things so they can have cred is always kind of mind blowing to me. But that's because I'm old. But anyway, let's talk about this. Hey everybody, this is Perch. A too long didn't read version of this video might be: I don't know why people do the things they do. Nobody does. And there's a lot of randomness to human behavior. I think there's roughly like 5 billion sci-fi movies on exactly this topic, which is, you can't control kind of human behavior. And you can try and analyze it and try and assess it. You can come up with some mapping to it and at least try and digest it. But at the end of the day, people gonna people, or however you want to say it. People do weird things, and to try and put some analysis behind that might help make you feel better, might help me feel better. But at the end of the day, it may be kind of a worthless pursuit because people are random. They do strange things. I look at my channel. I don't know why some people do the things they do. There's somebody that comes in. If I comment on even a whiff of a social issue, like I had the video a day or two ago, whenever it was, talking about, are all superheroes social justice warriors? Now, why do I do that video? Because it comes up like a million. It comes up hundreds of times. You see it brought up, and you see an argument about it. So I want to pick up the topic and talk about it. Should I not be allowed to do that? Of course not. I can do whatever I want. You just like you have the ability to upvote, downvote, not listen at all, make reaction videos, whatever you happen to do. But you shouldn't be afraid to hit those topics if you want to talk about them. It's up to you. But in today's new system, if you make even a comment that kind of remotely makes people feel at all uncomfortable, they immediately jump in with this is a straw man, this is a dog whistle, this is conflating, this is whatever word I learned on Twitter today that I want to use to make myself sound smart. I'm going to throw that in. And it's, why go through that? Why waste time doing that? Why police what other people are saying when it's very easy to just kind of click next or not click at all? Why bother? Don't you have better things to do with your time? I do. I don't know. It seems like you should. But it's an example of, some people feel compelled to do this. I mentioned before, there's a guy who believes I was mean to your boy Zach. And so he subscribes to the channel so that he can come in and downvote every single video I do. And I see the analytics, same guy. And more power to you. I don't know why you do that. I can't really assess why you do that. I don't really care why you do that. It's funny. I honestly think it's kind of comical at this point. But why do you do that? And I think that with comics and with anything, there's behavior that comes out that people do that makes no freaking sense, and to try and put reason behind that is dodgy. There's a lot of comics that come out. Where this gets me is that I'll read reviews of comics and I'll see people say things like, this is the Storm story we've been waiting for 50 years, or since she appeared in comics, and they're referring to the latest issue of Marauders. And you read that comic and you're like, this character is not acting like Storm normally does. This is not particularly heroic version of her. She's sandwiched in amongst a bunch of other things. How this is what we've been waiting for since she appeared in comics, like the Life Death comics, her run as leader of the X-Men, kind of the big heroic moment she had of being reborn, losing her powers, getting her powers back, all that kind of stuff. Those aren't the heroic stories of Storm that we've been waiting our entire life by? I find it hard to digest that the chapter 3 of Ten of Swords, where Storm steals a sword, is the quintessential Storm story we've all been waiting for. Maybe somebody actually believes this. Maybe they don't. I have a hard time buying that anyone thinks that's true. So why do people write that? The first and obvious thing that comes into your head, and when you read stuff like this is somebody who didn't actually read the comic. This is somebody who, is saying these things for attention or cred, or maybe they want to get a job at Marvel, and so they're lumping on praise. I don't know why somebody would say something like this. It makes no sense, but it happens all the time. And I think to try and make reason of that, a lot of fans come up, or a lot of, people come up with these people aren't actually reading the comics. And we don't know for sure if they are or they aren't. But I've been in enough conversations on quote unquote the other side where that statement, you don't read the comics or you don't buy the comics, really irritates people. So good news, if you are one of those people who says, these people don't buy the comics, they're marketing to people that don't actually buy comics. If you have made those statements in the past and you're hoping to irritate somebody, congratulations. I can tell you it irritates the shit out of people. It really gets under their skin like almost nothing else does. And again, I'm not sure why, but it does. That statement really bugs people. But I've been in these conversations, and I've even said this, and it's never landed well. I always annoy people when I say it. It's like, but you understand why people think this, right? Like when you're saying something like, this issue of Squirrel Girl is the best superhero story that Marvel's ever told. I mean, you can't understand why a reaction to that might be you don't read comics, because Marvel's told 60 plus years of superhero stories. Is it, if your position is that like Squirrel Girl number 18 is the best comic they've ever made, cool. I guess I want to understand why it spoke to you and what was it that did it for you. I'm honestly curious. But you shouldn't be shocked or outraged or mad when people suspect you might be, to use the friendly term, taking the piss out of out of others, because it just, it's, and so it sets up this interesting war between people where people throw out what feels like, over the top hot takes. And then on some level, I have to believe they know they're hot takes. They know that what they're saying is pseudo ridiculous, or at least, intentionally controversial. But then they seem to get really mad when people call them on it. I mean, if you're putting out a hot take, kind of the very definition of a hot take is that it's going to make people nuts. That's kind of the whole deal. So I think, here's my belief, just personally, and I have no evidence to support this other than my own observations. I think that a lot of the people who comment and throw out hot takes on comics are either, one, not regular readers of the comics. I do think there's some truth to that. I think they're wanting to be part of pop culture, but they're not actually readers of it. Or two, I think they're, and probably more likely, I think they're looking for attention. When somebody throws out the, Miss Marvel is single-handedly the best superhero that's ever been created in the last 50 years. I think there is a handful of people who believe that and they feel that. And I to those people, I say, good for you and great. I think that's wonderful that you found a character you really love and speaks to you, and there's nothing wrong with that. I support you. For the other people, I think they're doing it to some extent to see if they can rile up others. They're seeing if they can do it to get, the quote unquote comics guys to all go nuts and like retweet and flame. And then they can go, look, the bad guys are attacking me. And then they can get some sympathy and probably gain a couple hundred followers. I mean, I say this because in one of the Facebook groups for indie artists, there's a thread that goes like, how do you gain 1,000 followers? And people are posting here's a marketing tool you can buy that will go get followers. You can go on to places like Fiverr or other places, and you can buy Twitter followers, but be careful with that because Twitter looks for bot accounts and they remove them, so you could waste your money. And then somebody weighed in with the, hey, if you really want to gain 1,000 followers, say some super outrageous things, get Ethan Van Sciver to retweet it, calling you an idiot, and you'll get a bunch of people from the community who will follow you and like, and, out of support because they don't like Van Sciver. And so you're getting involved, and that's how you get attention. And that's what a lot of people do. I mean, I don't think I'm revealing any great mystery of the universe. I think that's what a lot of people do. And I'm sure it happens the other direction too. I think if you come out right now and you make a bunch of comments about how the SJWs are ruining comics and the industry's going to die and there's a funeral being held and it's imploding and on and on and on. I think if you do that, I think you'll pick up 1,000 followers in the other direction. It's a way to get attention, and I think that's what a lot of it is. So I know this is probably I'm weighing in on a controversial topic, but yeah, I think when you see these kind of more crazy hot takes, more weird kind of reviews or analysis on comic books that don't seem to map to any kind of, thing that makes sense, I think that the primary goal of the person posting that is get attention. I think in many cases they're not reading the comic, or if they are, they're just casually reading the comic. And they're right. I mean, the funny thing is there shouldn't be a gate or a barrier to comics that say, unless you read precisely 2,000 comics and then you take your exams and you get your license, then you shouldn't be able to comment on them. No, I think if you went to a bookstore and you read your very first comic and you have some opinions on it, join the party, weigh in, start commenting on it. It's fine. I think that somebody posting something like this Storm story in Marauders is the best Storm story ever written is somebody looking for attention, honestly. I mean, they may actually believe it. Who knows? And maybe it doesn't matter whether they believe it, whether they read the story, whether any of that is true or not. I think that if you're going to post a very definitive hot take, you should be prepared and comfortable to accept that you're going to get some arguments. And as long as the arguments aren't outrageously terrible, like, I mean, and this is all based on your definition, I think that you posted your opinion, you should be prepared to defend it or to have people argue with it. There's nothing weird or wrong about that. I think the performance comes when you post a crazy hot take and somebody comes in and calls you an idiot, and then it's like flopping in soccer. If you know this practice, it's where you try and pull a penalty to the other team by, like, somebody brushes up against you and you act like you've just broken your leg. That's how this feels. That's how a lot of this feels. And it happens on both sides. It does. It does happen more on one side than the other. It's my observation, but it does happen all over the place. And it's the, let's see if I can bait you into giving me some attention and then gain some sympathy out of it. And you get something out of that transaction, I guess. I'll end where I started. I don't understand this. It's human behavior. It makes no sense to me. It feels like a waste of time. It's like the people who read all the comments, and every now and then somebody will post a comment in one of my videos calling me a dumb asshole or whatever it happens to be. And it's like, I mean, I don't know what you're trying to. Do you think I'm like going on about the rest of my day feeling really tortured by this comment? I'm not. If that's what you're going for, I mean, I don't know. I've got kids. There's literally nothing that can be said online that's going to divert my emotions. Once you have kids, it like puts it, for me anyway, puts in perspective. I don't know. That's just what it worked for me. But you can't explain people. People are strange. No, I don't think people are reading all the comics. No, I don't know that's a cardinal sin, but yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. What about you? Where does this stuff like confuse you like it confuses me? Or are you at this point in the video going, I don't know what he's talking about? Leave a comment below. Let me know. Like, dislike, subscribe, don't subscribe, be notified, don't be notified. Leave this video and go get some ice cream. Whatever floats your boat, man. But one thing, and I do mean it, thanks for listening.